And to New York politics now. And if Santa missed one of the big items on your Christmas list last month, don't you worry. It seems like Governor Cuomo, he's starting a Christmas in January campaign. Today, Cuomo reached into the bag, proverbially here, and offered up goodies for the New York City subway system as part of an $8 billion shopping spree that he's pitching for the MTA. That spending includes adding free Wi-Fi, cell service to every subway station in the city. Cuomo, he also wants train countdown clocks added to every station that doesn't have one. But that's just an hors d'oeuvre here when it comes to spending plans that the governor, is offering up before the Wednesday State of the State address. Now, on top of the $8 billion we talked about for the MTA, Cuomo, he's proposed $22 billion for roads and bridges, another $1 billion to keep tolls on the thruway at Tappan Zee stable as well, another $4 billion to pay for the new tap, $3.8 billion for small business tax cuts, $7 billion for upstate infrastructure, another $1 billion for the LI for Long Island's infrastructure, $4 billion to rebuild LaGuardia, $28 million to boost the minimum wage at SUNY schools, and $5 million for a study about a possible tunnel from Westchester to Long Island. And I'll save you the suspense. It's not going to happen. Now, this is just a loose estimate, and if you add it all up and you get a back of the envelope guess, we're talking more than $50 billion here in spending that the governor is proposing. I love all the ideas, but again, how are we going to pay for this? I know we don't know yet. We're going to get more of the details on Wednesday, but given how long, with still unanswered questions for the Tappan Zee on how and who's going to pay for it all, is it fair for the cynical journalist?
Cynical.
Is it fair to say, show me the money here? How are we going to do this?
No, I actually think you're mischaracterizing it. When you talk about capital, when you talk about the Tappan Zee, the MTA, infrastructure investment, the state's got to do it. If we, I wait to see the numbers.
Just where we're getting the math.
Well, let's see the numbers when he puts out the capital budget. But we cannot afford not to invest in the MTA.
100%, I agree with you.
And the honest truth is, we have money from settlements. Significant money from settlements again.
We're talking about tobacco, or are we talking
about?
No,
we're talking about these unlawful acts by banks and others that continue to be substantial additions to enough of our budget, we anticipate, as they were last year, to invest in capital infrastructure. And the fact is, New York has fallen behind. I mean, if you've taken the subway recently.
Time out. You don't have any debate with me that every single proposal I just rattled off is a good one, an overdue one. Yeah, listen, I love it too, but there's nothing going from right to left.
I'm not sure I love that. Okay. I just say two things. On capital, the time, if we have the money, and I'll wait to see it, the time for capital investment in infrastructure is absolutely now. We are falling behind, and I urge an investment in that. Operating, which you sort of messed in there together, which I know that's fair to do on TV, but in real life, it's a different kind of budget. There are many real important things that we need to spend the state's money on. One thing that's not on that list that I urge the governor to do is operating money for public bus service outside of New York City. Westchester, Long Island, Syracuse,
100%.
But that wasn't on your list, and I'm going to use this opportunity to say there's thousands of people who are dependent on public transportation outside of New York City.
And I defer to the importance and the need of it. But again, I would give the Republicans, and have in the past, whenever they say, we're going to cut this tax, we're going to cut that tax, we're going to cut this, we're going to freeze the rate of increase for whatever, and then I'm going to turn around and say to them, okay, how are you going to pay for everything then without the revenues? With how long it has taken your great county of Rockland County here to get an idea where the monies are coming from, we still don't have all the answers for the Tappan Zee. I ask you, is it fair to say, multiply it times 10, where are we going to get all this money?
I have no idea, and he doesn't either. And I'll tell you something, capital or not capital, I'm still waiting for the Queens Convention Center. Remember that? I'm still waiting for the whole change of the Moynihan Center. I mean, we talk about these things as if these are multi-year, enormous projects. $22 billion for upstate roads and bridges. Where are you going to get it? And by the way, the MTA and Port Authority, they're going to have to chip in. Guess what? The MTA has no money. So all this is nice.
Neither does the Port Authority.
Neither the Port Authority. So you got a Christmas wish list, which he's making great publicity on, and it doesn't get lost in the actual operations. But I don't know how you do this. And you've got all these promises. He's touched each of the areas and made promises. The third rail, Long Island's third rail, has been talked about for years and years. And
But you know what's interesting to me is if you're going to do this, he's certainly not the first elected that's ever done this before. It's out of the playbook. But he also says he wants to freeze the tolls, right? And at the same time where you're going to say, I want to do all this infrastructure, and by the way, I'm going to cut projected revenue for whatever you thought you were going to do, I'm going to freeze it at least, maybe not cut the tolls.
And it's not just when it comes to the roads. He was asked today about raising taxes, and he sort of hemmed and hawed his way around that. He doesn't want to do that.
Right.
So, again, Assemblywoman, I don't know if you've got an extra $50 billion in your bag somewhere, but I don't know where it's a wonderful, idea for all of these things, but there's just no way to pay for it.
Yeah, but here's my problem. He has not actually presented his budget. And I'm very frequently critical. But on this issue, why we all sit around and be skeptical when we have not seen the basis for how he's going to pay for it?
That number,
Because
$50 billion.
it's so much like a lot of our federal officials who announce they're going to do 4,000 things every Sunday, and none of them get done, or one or two of them get done. I mean, so you get all publicity, but you don't get the actual
Yeah, but
meat.
Scott, we're leaving out the fact that this is the one governor who got this Tappan Zee Bridge done.
But we don't know how to pay
Everyone
for
talked
it.
about it.
He hasn't gotten it done yet. He's gotten it half done.
Well,
He
it'll
hasn't-
be done.
He hasn't
You
figured
can
out how
be
to pay
sure
for
of
the other
that.
half of it.
Oh,
No,
it'll
he
get
knows how to-
filled.
he
And
knows
I
how
give
to
him
pay.
credit for it. We needed it, right? And every single
Everybody
thing.
talked about it.
Absolutely. And let me be clear. Every single thing we said, we not only need, not just for safety, we need it for transportation in terms of commerce and everything else. So you're preaching to the converted. I'm only saying, look how hard it's been to pay for the Tappan Zee, and we still don't know where all the money's come from. And now we think that, and he's going to hang his hat on. He's going to be the infrastructure governor. When he's all said and done, I don't care how he's going to do it, Dominic. There's going to be a lot of stuff. Cuomo built that. Cuomo built that. And bless him for it. I just don't get the math. Look how hard it was to find $4 or $5 billion, $6 billion for the bridge. Now we're going to do all this other stuff. And by the way, you're not paying more on your toll when you go over the Tappan Zee. So.
Well, we are going to pay more on the toll on the Tappan Zee. But in fairness to the governor, Richard, and this is a cardinal sin against journalists, he doesn't. Elected officials don't have to always answer when we want the answer. I mean, I'm sorry, but the media doesn't rule the world.
How dare you? Yes.
I'm going to isolate that clip and send it to Bill de Blasio.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not been my
So,
I don't know what you're talking about.
so I agree with the Assemblywoman.
Why did somebody tell me now? Yeah.
You got the capital budget.
Yeah.
Let's remember that. You got the feds. They're gonna have to pinch put up some money. I'll bet on this governor because this guy, the legacy of his father is always over his shoulder. And he wants to be the Robert Moses
Yes.
of the common day. And it's as simple as that. And I would bet on Cuomo, on this Cuomo.
All right. Well, I want to also get to another issue that we've talked about in this program before, and that's East Ramapo, where it's looking like lawmakers may be at an impasse over a school board monitor with veto power. I'll be honest with you, I thought when the monitor came up there, delivered his report, I thought the ball was rolling, there was an inevitability to this. But two separate independent monitors who have now called for oversight of the troubled Rockland County District, where, as you may remember, Hasidic Jewish board members are accused of diverting resources and shuttering programs at the expense of minority students. You have two of those. Last monitor made the point that empower that position, be able to veto any decision that the board makes if it's not seen to be in the best interest of students. So if you thought that that was the final debate until the enactment of it, you thought wrong. State lawmakers, they got to sign off on any such proposal, and the top Republican in Albany now says, not so fast. In fact, he's against the idea.
Your position has been that a veto power over the school board, a duly elected school board, is not something you support, and you said you're not going to do it.
I think that's the perfect phrase. It's a duly elected school board, and that's why you have elections. That's why we have a democracy. These are local residents who get elected by their own peers and neighbors.
Did you see that coming?
I think I did. I think there have been some rumblings towards that end, and I know that the Hasidic groups in East Ramapo had been leaning heavily on Republicans out of Rockland County. There were war with Republicans in Rockland County, but they had been leaning on Republicans in Albany to try to find that opposition. And so I expected there would be some resistance from Flanagan. The only question now is, what give and take are other lawmakers willing to do, or is the governor willing to do to try to get Flanagan to come aboard? I'm not sure they're going to be able to.
How about Republicans in Rockland? Because there's been interesting sound since this issue's been percolating over the years. I mean, how many Republicans will follow Flanagan? And how about Republicans in Rockland?
Well, there aren't many left.
Yeah.
So the four that are there said that, they're. I think the issue is, let me step back. It's really not a Republican versus Democrat thing. It really is a question of broader political ramifications, as I see it. But I will tell you that Walcott, I think, made a terrible mistake. The Hasidic community is not one to be
and
shunned.
he's the one who delivered the monitor's
Yeah,
report.
Dennis Walcott.
Yep.
The issue, East Ramapo needs help, and the board needs to be looked at and supervised and helped, okay? But to come out with a report without having met with leaders in the community, which he did apparently, has created more of a schism, not just a political schism, but I mean a community schism in Rockland County. And it's not helped the situation. There are children who are not being properly educated. And somehow we got into this, let's get somebody with veto power. What you need is a very sincere effort to get into that school district and monitor it carefully. Walcott made a mistake here. And what Flanagan is doing is nothing to do. I mean, I think there's an argument, my personal, that you can't simply say a duly elected board, okay, can be overtaken by a person or a monitor. Having served on a school board, some of the decisions are awful, and they don't appear to be the correct ones at the time, but they might become the correct ones overall. But there needs to be something. So if they don't pass that kind of monitor, my suggestion is the Board of Regents get back in the game, take all the things that have been, get the controller involved with this, and do a real thorough involvement and investigation of what's going on and how it might be fixed. The community is torn apart, to answer your question.
Clearly.
And that's not good.
Clearly, it hasn't changed here. I wish we had more time on this one, but nonetheless, I haven't been following as closely as Andrew has. It surprised me, at least. I thought it was kind of pro forma almost at that point, and obviously very wrong. All right, coming up next, the Cruz and Trump show. It is cruising into Iowa, and as we see, Ted is leading the GOP field in that state here, the Donald nationally. Now, some big-name Republicans reportedly saying this could cause lasting damage to the party. The question is, can they stop it?